No. Right, now we're live, and now I've taken LinkedIn off. It still kicked it out. Sorry, guys. That was a delay of 10 seconds, which feels like 10 minutes when you're watching it. So sorry. Hi, and good evening, and welcome to Tuesday night. And it's Mandy here as usual. For those of you that don't know me, because there've been quite a lot of new friends in the last few weeks, which is great. I'm Mandy Nicholson, and I'm the Creative Genius Consultant. Notice the Creative Genius Consultant. And I'm here this evening chatting to Jen Mansfield, who is an amazing fulfillment coach. Yeah. And we are going to be talking about that thing that we do to ourselves when we tell ourselves or think it or speak it, and we say we are not good enough, because it happens way too often, especially with us women. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Jen introduce herself and tell you who she is, what she does, why she does it, and a little bit about her story. And then we'll just start chattering about this demon, I'm not good enough. So over to you, Jen.
Thanks, Mandy. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. It's always an absolute pleasure to be on with you. So yeah, as Mandy said, I am Jen Mansfield, the fulfillment coach, and I just slipped in there then. I'm taking the lead off you, Mandy. And basically, I help women predominantly these days who are feeling emotionally or mentally exhausted with their life, and they've kind of done everything they should do in life. So they've ticked all the boxes of what success means and are there and are grateful for where they're at, but there's a piece missing. And some of the ladies I work with don't know what that is. There's just kind of an emptiness and an ache inside of them, and others know exactly what it is. But ultimately, it's about helping those women find fulfillment and create a life of fulfillment for them, with freedom and fun at its core, where they are center stage of their own life, because we're all the star of our own show, and that's the way it should be. And yet too often, and we'll discuss this more tonight, we take a back seat and put others before ourselves, and then we don't get a look in. And I was reading a book this week that said the number one regret of people at the end of their life is that they felt like they lived their life for somebody else and never had the courage to live it for themselves. And honestly, just reading that as the most common regret, I was just like, oh, I can't imagine getting to the end of my life. And none of us know when our number's up.
No.
But to get to the end and think, I wish I'd done something for me and lived the way I wanted to, and according to my kind of beliefs and values. And I just thought it was heartbreaking. And that's what I want to get women out of thinking. And actually, we were all put on this planet for a reason. Yeah. And some of us know what that reason is, some of us don't, and that's fine. It's all part of enjoying the journey. But no one was put here to take a back seat.
I've read that before as well, Jen, that regrets at the end of the life. And it makes my heart ache.
Yeah.
And I heard a story. I was listening to radio. We'll come back to you in a sec. I say these things when they're in my head, because otherwise they're gone forever. I was listening to the radio on the way back from Newcastle one day, and I was listening to the story, and it was a sister of a woman that was dying, an elderly woman that was dying in the hospital. She didn't need to die. She'd kind of given up. And the sister was telling the story about her sister, saying that she actually wanted to die because the thoughts of going back to live in the same house as a husband that had controlled everything she'd done her entire life, from what she wore to how she ate to who she saw, was more terrifying than death.
Yeah.
And I wrote that in my sketchbook, because I think that's a painting for the future, because it really, I literally was crying in the car. But so many people do not live their life to the full. And I think what we're talking about tonight is anchored to that. But before we do, can you tell the viewers a little bit about you and your story?
Yeah, so basically I came to this work in quite a roundabout way. I've been a musician, I've been a secondary school teacher, I've been a personal trainer, and now a fulfillment coach. And the reason was that from the age of 13, I mastered how to do a good depression. Now, At the age of 13, I was not aware that that was what I was going through. And it was interesting because I'd have a couple, like 1 or 2 really, really tough years where I'd really, really struggle with my mental health. And then things would be okay. Mm-hmm. And I'd sort of tick along and get on with life and whatever. And then I'd hit another like real down point. And interestingly, it seemed to go in 7-year cycles. So it was sort of 13, 14, and then 21, and then 28 again. And it was only at 21, and looking back, I was like, and at that point I was formally diagnosed and, you know, given antidepressants and saw a psychiatrist and a counsellor and had CBT. And it was that point I was like, this was what I went through when I was 13 as well. And I had no idea at that point what the reason for me having those feelings were. And that almost exacerbated it, because then I thought, who am I to feel like this? Like, I've had a good life and a good experience, and how dare me? Like, there are people starving in Africa. And, you know, so I just kind of kept that cycle going, really. But I was lucky. Actually, I had another bout, sort of 18 to 21 was the next bout. Because at that point was the first time I decided I was going to end things. And I'd sort of decided how, and I'd sat there deciding, am I going to leave a note or not? What's the kindest thing to do? And not that anyone will care anyway, because I'm not worth anything anyway. You know how it goes, that chatter. Yeah. And I was, I don't know, lucky, hallucinating, who knows? But that day it did not happen because, well, those of you that followed me know the story. But essentially, I think I got saved by 2 angels. That visited me and basically scared the shit out of me, to the point that I didn't believe in any of that stuff, but it shook me up enough to think, oh my gosh, like, what is going on? And I sort of spent the rest of that day just wandering around the city. I was living in Birmingham at the time. Found myself just sitting in a church, wasn't somewhere I'd ever been before, and that day I knew I had a purpose and a reason, or that's what I chose to make that day mean. And I had no idea what that purpose or reason was to be here, but I was like, it's clearly not my right to end this. Someone has a plan for me. And so I've just got to work out what that is. And then I kind of got on with my life and kind of tried to search for my purpose, but, you know, got a good job and did all the things you should do, tick, tick, tick. And then again at 28 was the second time. And at that point, we just bought a house, my now husband and I had a mortgage out, and everything was just crashing down around me. And to the outside, I looked like a successful woman. You know, I had a house in London that I owned. You know, I had a really good job and made good money. Had everything I should have. Had an amazing partner, and yet I couldn't get up in the morning. And it just felt like the inside of me had just collapsed. There was just a void and a chasm in there and nothing else. And I thought, I can't live like this. This isn't a life. This isn't existence. And if this is what the rest of my life's going to be, because again, the doctor, you know, CBT counselling, the drugs didn't work for me. The drugs actually scared me more because in my personal experience, they made me feel nothing.
Yeah.
For me, that was worse than feeling sad, because someone could say, I love you, or do something amazing for me. And I'd just be like, I was basically flatlining anyway. And I thought, Jesus, this isn't a way to live. And so I decided again to end it, and I thought it would be brilliant because now we've had to take out life insurance to get our mortgage. So my husband will get the mortgage paid off and I'll leave him, you know, debt free. He won't have to put up with me anymore, blah, blah, blah. So I just decided to check through the paperwork to make sure I was covered, or he was covered. And very fortunately, in fact, it said if this policy has been taken out within 12 months, it's not valid if one of the parties that have signed it commits suicide. So I thought, right, I've got 12 months. Like, that's it. I sort it out over this next 12 months once and for all, because I'm not going back here again. This is the 3rd time and I'm done. Or it's over in 12 months and he's got the house, he's got the mortgage paid off. So that's what I did. So I set about working out what I could do. And it was then a friend introduced me to someone, a Geordie bloke actually, who literally changed my life. And, you know, I used to call him my hairy fairy because he just He just spoke to me like a human. He didn't try to fix me. He didn't try to tell me I was broken. He didn't judge me. I mean, some days he'd call me a daft cow, and other days he'd give me a big hug. And, you know, like, but it was, I just needed to feel heard. And I realized I hadn't felt heard my whole life. I'd felt like I was just in that system. And you just go around and you follow the tick boxes. And, you know, no one had ever asked me, like, what it meant to me. And a real defining moment for me is when he asked me how I did depression. And I was like, what? He's like, well, how do you do yours? I was like, what do you mean, how do I do it? Like, well, what do you do? How do you know when you're depressed? Like, yeah, and I'd never even thought about it. And then I literally found myself going, oh, it's like I've got a big black Sharpie pen going like this in my brain. Like, all right, there you go. It's like, how about you stop doing that then? I was like, oh, well, okay. Yeah, I suppose good. Like, and it was just, you know, it was 6 years I spent working with him in total. And in fact, I ended up studying with him. He became my mentor, and a lot of what I do now I learned from him. And then obviously I've gone on to do my own other additional qualifications and research afterwards. But yeah, it was just chipping away and just, you know, revealing chinks of light where I'd thought there weren't any. I thought my entire life was one big shadow. And what was interesting was I realized that I'd spent most of my life feeling very, very angry, punishing a lot of people.
Right.
And in a place where I genuinely believed I was broken beyond repair, because all the people that were supposed to fix me hadn't.
Yeah.
And he just gave me like a glimmer of hope at a time, just one step at a time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this big jump. It wasn't any big promise or anything like that, but it was a real journey. And what was amazing was it was a journey inside of me, which was the most empowering thing I've ever been through, because I've realized that all the power is within us. Whilst I'd been looking outside and blaming everything that had happened to me, because I was asking why a lot. I was looking for the reason and searching, like, why is this happening to me? Why do I feel like this? Why am I suffering so much? I'm a good person. Like, what have I done? And the second I stopped asking for the why and just accepted, and then started asking the how, what, when, where, who, and those more resourceful questions that came from a more resourceful place than that why, which just kept me spinning in that cycle, the why actually dropped out. And then all of the puzzle made sense. And I was like, holy shit, that's why. And then that was a piece I had to then work on recovering from that had happened, that I'd just deleted, because I wouldn't allow my identity to see that had happened to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, and so now I just ache at anyone who is in that place and suffering and believing that this is how they have to live their life, because I got told you're just going to have to learn to live with this, learn to deal with it, you know, we'll adjust your medications as you go along. And I was like, no, it's not good enough, you know. And then you get told, oh, it's a hereditary thing. And I was like, no, like, I'm never having children if this is my gift to them. Like, and it's like, it's not on. And so I was like, I put a full stop to it now. And it was learning that only I could do that. No one else could fix me. And actually, I wasn't even broken anyway. I was just very dysfunctional, but functioning perfectly. Yeah. What I needed to survive. And and you know, there's a whole lot of forgiveness and letting go. And
it's a hell of a journey, that, isn't it, that you've been on. It's a hell of a process. And so many people are held in that for so many years of their life.
Yeah.
And don't realize that actually they are okay. They're okay.
It was the best part of 20 years for me. It was, you know, 2/3 of my life almost.
Already. But now you've learned to channel that experience and that knowledge. And
what's amazing is I know I'll never go back there. And like, I'll have some down days. Like, even in my own mentorship group today, I had a wobble this morning, and I went in and I was like crying. I was like, look, I've spent the last hour crying. I'm just going to like share it with you guys, because, you know, I tell them it's a safe space for them to share their emotions. Like, well, who am I being if I'm not being honest? Because it's not about being positive and happy and stuff all the time. That's that's also not healthy, because you're not being true to yourself. You've got to feel the feelings and honor them.
Yeah.
But it's the process of letting yourself work through them, rather than trying to fight them or deny them or keep yourself stuck in them.
So when you've obviously had that thought, haven't you, along that journey of I'm not good enough, So, anybody that's watching this right now and thinking, but I'm not good enough, but, I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not worthy. How would you respond to that now, knowing what you know?
It's such a massive question. It's such a loaded question. It's not good enough. There are so many layers to it. So I've really been thinking, like, how should we sort of approach this evening? But I think the first thing that strikes me is not good enough according to who and to whose criteria. Because I know last time we chatted, we were talking about comparisonitis.
Yes.
And to be not good enough, you have to have already set a standard. And so where have you got that benchmark from? Is that from somebody else that you see? Or is that from your own thoughts of what you should be doing? Or is that what somebody else is telling you that's the case? And so I think a part of it is working out where that's coming from in the first place. Is it an internal reference point, or is it an external reference point? Where are you sourcing that information, and what evidence do you have to support it? And what evidence do you have to the contrary as well? I used to say, I'm not good enough to be a saxophonist, but I was good enough to get a distinction in my grade 8 and get into music college, and get into a college to study abroad for a year and perform at several international events. So I can't have been that bad, but I also I'm not the best in the planet. But there's that, where's your benchmark of measuring? And if you're allowing one person or one group of people to keep you in that cycle of not good enough, you will never allow yourself to be good enough in their eyes. And whether it's in their eyes or your own eyes, it actually makes no difference, because we never, ever truly meet anyone else. We only meet our own experience of them. So we're distorting our own realities to fit with our own beliefs and values. So if you're running the core belief of I'm not good enough on a completely unconscious level, you'll be generalizing, deleting, and distorting all incoming information from all 5 of your senses to evidence the fact that you're not good enough. So I mean, a classic self-sabotage, like, when I had to go to my music audition for the college I really, really, really wanted to get into, I fell over the doorstep walking into the audition and landed on my face, was like, hi. It was a brilliant start to the audition. They were like, who's this idiot looking in? But so you will do things to make sure that you're not good enough. And one of the things I love is I've adopted the mantra, I can, I will, I am. And it's just put one foot in front of the other. And it's that thing, isn't it? If it doesn't matter how fast you're going, you're always lapping someone that's on the sofa. So just stay in your lane. Don't compare your journey to anyone else, because what you're probably doing is comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 22. Which is not a fair comparison, is it? No, in nobody's book. Everybody started somewhere, and you have no idea the journey that someone else has been to. It's like I was chatting to a mum friend the other day, so I've got a 2-year-old, and she's saying, pre-children, I had a very preconceived idea of what kind of parent I'd be, and B, I was so judgy about other parents. You'd see a kid lying across the supermarket aisle, and you'd be like, why are they letting their kids scream like that? Sort them out. Don't let them scream. It's annoying. And now I feel like there should be some kind of Hunger Games salute for all mums out there. Absolutely. But you have no idea the journey that mum has gone on to get to that point in time where the child has absolutely lost it, and and the mum just has no power or control at all. And so again, it's that not good enough in the eyes of what? I mean, the kid's alive. That's a win in my book. It's alive and well, and lying on the floor having a tantrum. And confident enough to express itself. Which is another win.
And I think that's part of it, isn't it? Because how can you ever compare yourself to anybody? Because you are completely 100% unique and an
And also,
individual.
you are completely 100% the best person in the world at being you. Because no one else can do it nearly as good as you can.
Nobody
can
do
it. Get Angelina Jolie or whoever, they ain't going to do it as good as you.
They're not. And I was held in that myself, Jen. For 25 years, I didn't paint a picture because I didn't think I was good enough. But I don't know who I was comparing myself to. I just didn't feel like I was good enough because I didn't do these really detailed, lifelike drawings. I was expressing myself in my way, and actually expressing yourself in your way is okay. It doesn't matter what that way is or how you do it. And it's what holds a lot of people, I think, in that eternal space of comparison and judgment. And actually, when you feel not good enough as a human being, you can be quite judgmental of others as well.
And that's normally where judgment comes from, is, it's the fear of, I live in Hastings on the south coast, and we are, I mean, eccentrics are us down here. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. But, there's like, I saw a bloke, he must have been in his 70s or something. Over the weekend, he had like a straw hat, like a bright pink and orange Hawaiian shirt, and then like hot pink lycra cycling shorts, and then like white sock pulled up to his knees, and then like brogues. And I was just like, yes, mate.
Yes, go for it.
I absolutely love it, because that's what we need more of in the world, is this self-expression. And it's our own discomfort of being like, oh my God, what would people think if I wore that? That you then kind of project onto somebody else. And actually, it's live and let live.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And like you say, with the not good enough, it doesn't have to be that you're comparing it to anyone else. It can just be like, and I'm not good enough too. And, especially, I got dragged around multiple art galleries when I was younger. And, if you're looking at kind of Monet, people like that, then, you're not going to be good enough. But again, a lot of the time, I was like, well, they're a bit shit. Like, because I liked, like, really, like, photographic, like, paintings. And so I was like, that's just, like, some shapes. And so it's just personal preference and opinion. And that's the thing, particularly in the arts, it's so subjective. And so it's why I used to hate doing composition, because composition is very, very much like art. It's just, down to the judgment of the listener, really.
Of course it is.
And I remember doing one, I always used to leave my assignments to last minute. And it was sort of like the day before I was supposed to be in, and I was still up in Wales at my parents' house. And I was absolutely stuck. I got myself in such a state over this composition that I was supposed to be in, because I wasn't good at composition. And I literally just picked up my cat and put it on the piano, and then put a treat at the end of the piano and made it walk across, and then just made a note of the notes that it walked on, and then made up some like bullshit story of like, it got to midnight and I'd done 2 minutes worth, and I think it had to be like a 4-minute composition. So then I thought, right, I know, I'll just reverse the entire thing and mirror image it. And then I made up some like bullshit brief about, it's about when you wake up in the morning and your mind's slow to get started, and then it's the hustle and bustle of the day, and then it's like the wind down and you go back to sleep. I got a first for it, and I literally was just like, chuck the cat on the piano, reverse the notes, done.
Well, that's because it's complete genius, because nobody else did that, did they? So absolute genius. Yeah.
But, and it's that, isn't it? It's sort of credit where credit's due. If people have different processes, and they're all amazing. It's like, I love the Julia Donaldson books, The Snail and the Whale and the Gruffalo, blah, blah, blah. And she said she just looks in a rhyming dictionary and just notes out all the words that rhyme, and then she goes, I'll put them together. I'm like, genius! Like, and I absolutely love her honesty for it as well. She's not pretending that she's pulling all these words out of thin air in her amazing brain. She's going, no, I just sit down with a rhyming dictionary and make a list of words, and then make them fit. And everyone's got their own unique process that creates their own unique magic, whether that's in the arts or whether that's in the retail space or whether that's in industry. Like, it doesn't matter, but you're always good enough to do exactly what you're supposed to do. And sometimes it takes us quite a while to work out what that is. I think, and we try a lot of things, and again, this whole should and this whole kind of societal norms and boxes. Like on my course, I teach about the map and how we each construct our reality, and how easily we can shrink our map to live a very, very limited existence. And I should have remembered to bring a bit of paper, actually, because then I could have like demoed what I meant, but never mind. If you follow me on my page, I'll demo. But yeah, you know, it starts with I am and our sense of identity. And again, if one of those is I am not good enough, what you then do around those identities is you form beliefs and values to lock those in and to support those identities that you have. And so again, like I said, you're going to generalize, delete, and distort information to support those core identities, because that's who we are. And anyone who directly threatens a core identity will punish and persecute, or be completely deaf, blind, and dumb to, like, because it can be really intrinsically built into who we are. And so it's about having those stepping stones of like, what am I good at? And when do I know I'm good enough at something? Have I ever experienced that in my life, at anything at all? And normally there is something. I mean, if nothing else, right? I think there's 40 billion sperms in an ejaculation. You were good enough to make it to planet Earth. You've already won the biggest contest of your life. So don't worry.
Yeah, that is so true, so true, so true.
You know, and again, it's watching language, like always and never. Always since when? Since you were a twinkle in your dad's eye? Since you were an egg in your grandma's womb, because don't our grandmas carry us or something? You know, it's watch the generalizations, because they're just a trance indicator, essentially, of a belief that we've got so entrenched. But a belief is nothing more than a thought that we've thought over and over and over again until we've convinced ourselves it's fact, and it's become entrenched in our subconscious mind as who we are. And so we've got to be careful when we use those words I am, because they're such powerful words, both positively and negatively, because whatever we put after them is what we become. And so start choosing. And I write mine in a book. Like, I review them fairly often, and then I went through a phase last year. I haven't done it for a little while, actually, but I'd write them out every day, because essentially your I ams can change in any given minute. We always change our identity pending the context we're in and the people we're with. You know, like, I'm a different person around my in-laws to I am with my parents, to I am with my partner, my friends, my colleagues, my mentees. But, you know, I'd write I ams that I wasn't yet, but I was just convincing myself that I was them. You know, I was just basically writing a goals list, but saying I am at the beginning of it. And I was like, done, tick. And so it's, you know, it's a bit of fake it till you make it sometimes. And that's okay. We're all winging it. None of us actually know what we're doing or have the answers of what life means.
We all wing it. And I think it's about finding the I ams and actually then identifying. That can be quite powerful, isn't it? To find the I ams. I use I am powerful, I am strong, I am powerful, I am well. All the time, because that's how I know I am. And I use that I am. And I think it's about accepting who you are and looking for the positive I ams and building from there. And you don't have to make it into a mantra, and you don't have to make it. It's just about accepting who you are and identifying that, because nobody else has those I ams that you have. They might have some element of them, but they are individual and belong to you. And I am enough always. Not I am not good enough.
One of the few times you're allowed to use always.
And it is. But people struggle with this inherently, which is why, I mean, my clients that I work with all the time, the barriers that they hit when they've got to up level, because they just are like, well, how can I be as good at
within that identity of success, or within that level of success? They're just like, no, that's not for me. That's for better people than I.
Well, because I'm a business coach and they're working with me, they're then comparing themselves to me, and I'm like, you know what? We both are exactly the same. I'm just teaching you some stuff. You could teach me some stuff, but I'm just teaching you some stuff at the moment, and that's it. Other than that, we're exactly the same.
If one human can do something, all of
Yeah.
us can do something. It's about the level of commitment we've got.
Mhm.
So, you know, I sort of tell a story of how I saw a jazz pianist play once, and jazz was something, despite being a saxophonist, jazz was not a strong point of mine.
Mhm.
And again, because of beliefs and the confidence of I'm not good enough, I wouldn't even try to improvise because I was too scared of being wrong at that point in my life. And now I live by the belief that there is no right or wrong. There just is.
Yeah.
You know, and despite having teachers saying, listen, you're only ever like a semitone away from a right note, and all of, you know, trying to encourage me, I was just like, no, like I can't do it. And I listened to this jazz pianist improvising, and I was like, I went up to him after and I was like, oh, I'd love to improvise the way you do. And he sort of smiled, and I was like, no, honestly, like I play the saxophone and I can't improvise like the absolute of it. And he was like, no, you wouldn't. And I was a bit like, what? And he was like, you wouldn't really love to improvise like me. And I was like, no, I would. Like, that was amazing. And he was like, no, because if you'd love to improvise like me, you'd do it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd spend the 10 hours a day, you'd teach yourself the patterns, you'd teach yourself the licks, you'd know how to do it. And he said, you like the thought of being able to improvise like me. And he said,
yeah.
And I was like, oh,
wow. Yeah.
You know, and it's that, isn't it? When the desire is strong enough in us, and I got to a point where the desire was strong enough in me that I wanted to live,
mm-hmm.
and I wanted to make a difference in this life. And, you know, some people don't get that desire, and that's what breaks my heart, because I just feel like there's an amazing like cartoon meme analogy, isn't there, where there's a bloke digging for diamonds with a little pickaxe. And he sort of, it comes in two halves, the picture. So the first half is him like going like Billy-O with his pickaxe, like creating a little tunnel. And then the second one is him sort of slumped over with the pickaxe over his shoulder, like looking down, all disappointed, walking away back down the tunnel. And he's like this far away from like a massive hoard of diamonds. And I feel like so many people are so close. And, you know, my work as a coach is never to fix anyone. And I genuinely now, after my own experience, don't believe anyone's broken. What my job is to hold the torch for them whilst they go rummaging. You know, when you go up in the loft as a kid and you're like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And you literally just want an adult there, like as company, to save you from the ghosts. Like, that's my job now. I just hold the torch and help you do the rummaging and say, no, you're nearly there. Like, keep going.
Keep digging. I do that. Just step into that light. Step into the creative power that I know is already in there, that you need to know that's already in there. And that's, we both do it the same. Yeah.
Every single one of us.
Seeing it happen when people get those epiphanies and they're working through that, and you can see, I find it delightful when I'm on a coaching call with women and I see the epiphany actually happen in front of my eyes. It just gives me such great joy to see somebody realize that they can do it. It's a real privilege. It's a gift beyond anything else that you ever get, to see that person realize that they could do it all along, all the time. It was in them.
And it's so simple as well. It was just, and again, it's that fear, isn't it? It's so much more than the actual doing it. Like, I had a friend that said to me once, it's easier when you just do it. And I was like, you're so right. But the thinking about doing it is what absolutely psychs us out. And again, you know, fear, false evidence appearing real. And it's very easy to forget everything and run. But you could just face everything and rise.
Yay.
It's a choice.
You've worked hard on that, haven't you?
I've been practicing that one all day.
So everybody that's watching this now knows me. So tell people, if they want to get in touch with you, I mean, I've put your links on, your links are everywhere on this post, but tell them how they can get in touch with you. What's the best way?
The best way to get in touch with me is through Facebook. That's my main platform at the moment. So you can search for me at Jen Mansfield. My business page is Jen Mansfield Fulfillment Coach. Don't have a group at the moment because everything I post is on my profile, really. I just share it. I like sharing to everyone rather than being exclusive. Plus, I just don't have the time at the moment to manage a group as well and do it well. And then, yeah, you can also visit me on my website. Like Mandy said, the links are here. That's www.jenmansfield.co.uk. And you get to know a little bit more about me and my story, and also the 12-week online mentorship program that I'm currently offering. So that's currently my main offering. And I've got just over 10 women. I keep it quite small because it's not you get one-to-one sessions in there, but you also get group coaching, and there's an online self-teach element to it as well. But I want to be able to give every single woman in there the support she deserves on that 12 weeks to get the biggest transformation in that time frame. So I do keep it quite small and exclusive, but there are some spaces open for enrollment next month, so the 1st. So you can book a discovery call if you want to chat about that and what that might look like and whether that's a good fit for your goals or not. I'm always happy to chat and meet new people regardless. So yeah, just reach out.
Fantastic. And yes, definitely, if you're thinking that that's something that would help you, don't hesitate. I think that's where we hesitate and we go away and think about things, then we go and talk to somebody who's in the circle of you're not good enough, who is the one that's saying, well, you'll never be able to do that. We change our minds. It's such a shift very quickly out of, I know I want to do this and this could help me and this person I resonate with, to you're not good enough again. And it can be literally a matter of minutes, can't it, that flip back?
Oh, it really can. And now, I mean, these days I'm an act first, think later, you know, like ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
That didn't used to be me. I mean, it used to take me weeks to make a decision and then to and fro, go back and forth. But, you know, like I say, life's for the living and it's too short. And it's also too important to be taken too seriously. And I mean, too many people taking life seriously, doing everything they can to do things right. And it's all just a fucking illusion, if I'm honest. The only thing that's right is that you have a great time during your time on this planet. And that is all that there is.
It really is. And I have to say, you know, I had a lesson in that from my late husband, Gary, who lived every single day of his life like it was his last. And I lived that with him for 7 years. And he left me with the most amazing memories and the most amazing legacy and the most important lesson of my life, that today matters. I matter. Yeah. And I should just
enjoy yourself off to tomorrow. Don't put anything off to tomorrow that you can do today. So
I do a job I love because that keeps me happy. I spend time with my children because that makes me happy, my dogs. And every day has to have something in it that makes me feel good. Yeah. I have to say, God, none of us are perfect. I woke up Sunday morning feeling shit, very sad, because I've lost Gary. And I spent 3 hours in bed binge watching Dexter.
So I've had a day like that where I've binge watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
That's even worse than Dexter, that is, really.
And it's my ultimate guilty pleasure.
Yeah. So, but after my 3 hours of self-pity, I got myself out of bed, went into the garden centre, spent 350 quid and spent 6 hours in the garden, digging up, planting trees, building things, and changed my day and did something that made me feel
and that's the trick, is knowing how and when to pull yourself out of it. So you were able to honour yourself and give yourself those 3 hours.
Yeah.
First of all, but then you were like, okay, right, that's long enough.
Yeah.
Let's get on now with the day. And I think that's what's really important. And that's what a lot of the women have fed back to me in my group, is just that realization that they have total control and ownership over how they experience their day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
And that's one of the really transformational pieces. It's just being like, oh my gosh, I'm not a victim to my circumstances. I can flip this on its head. And, you know, that was what I was a victim for years and years and years. And for most of those years, I didn't even know what I was a victim of. Mm-hmm. I was just a victim.
Yeah.
And, you know, and suddenly I didn't have to, you know, there's the Cartman drama triangle model where you've got the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. And you can jump between and all of those three positions at any point with any human interaction. So my default was the victim, but I could quite easily jump into the persecutor,
right,
on threat victim status, and you know, vice versa. But actually, to learn what it is to actually eject yourself from that triangle completely, and just be able to live from a place of life just is, rather than seeking justice for the things that you've been wronged. Because let's not beat around the bush. There are bad people in this world that do bad things, and they damage good people.
Yeah.
And that is a fact of life, unfortunately. But then, do you give them the power to have ruined your life forever?
No.
Or do you find a way to rise up and shine like the fucking supernova you were born to be, despite the absolutely atrocious things that have been done or that have happened to you? You know, and it's that, and that's what true freedom is. And I remember on one of the last courses I did with this mentor of mine, he just said, and I don't think there were two of us in the room of about 20 people. There were two of us in the room that it really affected, and everyone else that sort of went whoosh, over their head. But he just said, we were talking in the context of, people that meant something to us. And he said, write them an IOU. He said, you don't even necessarily have to give it to them. You just have to mean it.
Yeah.
I owe you my life, paid in full. And when he said that to me, it was like a punch in my guts. And the sound I made, honestly, it was like guttural. And I know I'm quite animated, but I'm not one for putting a big drama on in front of people. And I literally just like fell to the floor and was like sobbing, because it was like someone had just released the chains off me. And I was like, oh my God, like I owe those people my life, like, but I owe them nothing.
Yeah. Paid in full.
My life is my life. And that's it. And I'm now going to live it my way.
And I think that is so profound. And I want to sort of kind of tie up with a message to the people that are watching now. If you spent your life thinking you were not good enough, and say, for instance, you'd had some unsuccessful marriages. Now, I've collected them like shells on the beach. I'm actually better at employing people than I am at picking
them. Love that.
So Gary was number 4, but imagine if after number 3, I'd said I'm never, ever getting married again, and I'm not good enough, or there's something wrong with me, or I don't deserve this. Imagine what I would have missed if I'd given up at number 3 and said, I'm not worthy.
I mean, it's not even worth imagining, is it?
It's not. It's not. And I think it's about that, isn't it? Just stop where you are and say it's okay. But it's hard to do that. It really is hard.
It's hard to do that. And that's why sometimes people need a hand, like people like you and me, to say, come here, look at the view, look at where you are, look at the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And now let's turn around and let's create something new. Because it is a really tough journey when you're on your own, and you're your own prisoner, prison guard, keeper of the keys, prison walls. Everything. You're all of it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have made comments tonight, we've not been able to see them. I've had this problem before because I'm on 4 platforms. If you're making comment, it can only pick up 2 on StreamYard of the 4 platforms. If you're commenting on one of the platforms we can't see them on, we're going to come back and go through all the platforms and answer any questions. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat box. We will come to them. If you've watched this live, thank you very much for persevering. And if you're watching it on replay, hashtag replay and put your question in, because I'll come back over the next couple of days and make sure everything's been answered. It's been awesome talking to you about this, and I hope that any one thing that we've said tonight has resonated with you, and reach out if you need someone to give you. This is really interesting. We've got a comment. Thank you. Reach out if you need. Either of us will answer questions through Messenger, but don't just sit with it after tonight. If it's resonated with you, the worst thing you can do is sit with it and then go away and still think I'm not good enough, because do you know
do
what?
It now. Take the courage and do it now before you talk yourself out of it and think, I'm not even good enough to reach out to those people, because I can promise you it's a story. It's a bullshit story, and let's rewrite the script, man.
Yeah, rewriting the script tonight on Facebook.
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much, Jen. It's a delight as always to talk to you. And I will be at the same time, same place next week. So I will see you all there. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.